From August 1937 through September 1945, over 490 letters were sent by Roger to Margie. So who were Roger and Margie? They were my parents. And my mother liked to save all her letters, so she saved every single letter that was ever sent to her. And when she passed away in September 6, 2000, she left behind all these letters. These are some of them. And it was at that time that I started looking at them after going through her things, because my father had also passed away. He passed away. Roger passed away February 16th, 1979. I was always aware that these letters existed growing up, but I never really looked at them. Not until after my mother passed away that I started to go through them and put them into chronological order. And I realized that there was a story there that told of a relationship that started when they first met at a resort on Lake Muskoka called Cedar Wild. So they met there in July of 1937. They hit it off. They continued their relationship. Well, Mom went back to Toronto to live and work, and Dad went into Northern Ontario to work in the prospecting industry, mining industry, lumbering, construction, etc. So they continued this relationship on, and they eventually got married. Then Dad went into the war. Dad joined the Army, spent a year training in Canada, then was shipped to England, spent another 10 months training in England. Then he was shipped to the European theater, where he spent the balance of the war in the European theater, traveling through France, Belgium, the Netherlands, into Germany until the end of the war. When I found these letters, I started to transpose them onto Microsoft Word to put them into more of a book format, adding pictures as I went, because now I found some of the old pictures that my parents had taken. They started to make sense to me, and they would fit into different letters that were mentioned. So I added that, and I actually composed a book and tried to get it published, but it was rejected. And so I did the next best thing, or I'm doing the next best thing. That's what this project's all about, Letters to Margie. I'm using a digital text-to-speech technology from Microsoft. There are others that can be used, but I chose Microsoft Zeus, I think it's called, and picked a character that I thought would represent my dad quite well, and started translating them in text-to-speech and putting them onto YouTube format. Now, to put them onto the YouTube format, I needed to add some sort of visual aid, like the pictures of the letters themselves, pictures, photographs that represent that time period. And so what you have is a story that tells a family story, and that is the main reason why I am doing this, is to preserve family history for my children, grandchildren, etc. But it's also saving some historical documents, really, of a time period. Very, very rare is it that you would find an assortment of letters, like over 490 letters that were saved from that time period, from the 30s and 40s, telling this story. So Also, I'm saving this for, historical documentation purposes. There's so many letters that to uh, I've decided to break them up into a series. So the first section will be called The Early Years, and that'll be from 1937 up until my parents got married in 1942. After that, the next 12 months will be Army life in Canada. And of course, Dad is in boot camp and different camps training in Canada. Third section will be Army life in England. He's sent to England and training continues for 10 months in England. The fourth section will be the European theater. Dad goes to Normandy in August of 1944 with the Canadian Engineers. Travels through France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, and until the war is over. I will do some sort of wrap-up because Dad stopped the letters as soon as he knew he was being shipped back to Canada. The letters stopped then, but the story doesn't stop then. And so I put together a little post-war wrap-up of the voyage home, what he did right after the war, just to continue the story a little bit. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this, and this is just the introductory to Letters to Margie. I hope you enjoy it.
It was late Friday evening on February 16, 1979 when the phone rang. Who could be calling so late, I initially thought. I picked up the phone and said hello. On the other end my frantic mother in a crying voice says that she thinks Dad is dead. My heart stopped as she told me she tried waking him up from his evening nap and couldn't. I told her I would be there in a few minutes. The previous Sunday morning was a typical Sunday winter morning in Deseronto, Ontario. Lots of fluffy white snow, piles of shoveled mounds next to the driveway as well as high snow banks along College Street where our small split-level home was located. No snow in the forecast for the day and not much of a wind, so it looked to be a decent day. I was inside minding at that time our two children, Jody at age 8 and Melissa, or as we simply called her Missy, at a young age of 2.5. My better half Nancy was at work that day at the Quinte Beach nursing home, so I was holding down the fort until she got home later in the afternoon. It was late morning around 11 a.m. that the front door opens up after a quick knock and in walks my dad, who was known to everyone as Roger. What a surprise, as he is not the type of person to drop in visiting without any phone call or occasion to attend, such as a barbecue or birthday. I said hello and was waiting for him to tell me why he was there in person, thinking there may be a family emergency. He then simply said he just thought he would drive to my house, which is about 10 kilometers from where my mom and dad lived in Napanee, and visit. We sat down at my small homemade wooden kitchen table that was actually patterned after one Dad had built for my parents' first home in Pine Portage around 1947. Dad had turned 66 not quite 2 months ago on December 29th and looked perhaps that age for a typical person of 66. He was a husky, powerful man of about 180 pounds, 6-foot frame, and in good condition even with the typical belly of an older man. His head was bald in the middle, but he kept the remaining hair short and neat as it curved around in the infamous horseshoe pattern of baldness, but had a clean-shaven face to go with it. He always wore a shirt and tie to work, and after retirement just casual wear, but never jeans. This image of him seems to be the same as when I was young, even in the 1950s.